You are listening to Verba Managed, where words do remain.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, DUSPs. We are the Cultured Carrots, serving up diversity on a plate. Welcome to the third episode of a new series that will accompany you all along the Mondays of March, a series that embraces the concept of multiculturalism in itself. Focusing on broad topics such as success, work, love, relationships, family, or even death, we bring together people from all over the world, from cultures that seemingly have nothing in common, yet united by common desires. Come join us for this journey through the melting pot of hers. For this episode, we will focus on the very interesting notion of love relationships. One of the most essential notions in everyone's lives, one that people search for endlessly through the years. Passion or arranged marriage? Vision on the notions of infidelity, divorce, the existence of soulmates, one life love. To discuss all these questions, we are delighted to welcome with us today Samaya and Hanlin. So first of all, could you all start by telling us a bit more about yourself? Where do you come from? What is your background? Samaya, would you like to start?
Hi, my name is Samaya and I am originally from Bangladesh, where I've spent almost all my life. And my idea of love essentially comes from my cultures, but not strictly because of the internet and how integrated the world is right now. So yes, Hanlin, would you? How are you today?
Hey, I'm fine. And hi everyone, my name is Hanlin. I'm from China and I was brought up in a Chinese family. Yet just like Samaya, my notion or idea about love and relationship is also shaped both by my culture and the ground trend of globalization.
Thank you so much. So just to let the listeners know, we'll try to focus here on love in a more romantic context because, for example, family will probably be the topic of another episode. So you were talking about how internet might have influenced your original definition of love. Could you give us a short definition of what is love for you?
Oh, well, to start, I think for me love is an interesting combination of passion, commitment, and a company. What about you?
I think my definition of love would be similar. It's commitment and trust and comfort if we're talking about love relationships strictly. So yes.
So both of you mentioned the notion of passion in your definition and like commitment and all. So I was wondering if you have ever been confronted to the notion of arranged marriage. Like it's something that we are less and less confronted to, I would say. But was it at any point part of your culture? Or like did your parents in any sense try to influence your vision of love relationships?
According to my culture, I'm not really supposed to be dating before a certain age or even before marriage, but my parents are quite liberal in the sense because my father is always talking about his numerous girlfriends before my mother, and it's a whole thing. But being confronted on the about arranged marriage, I think not strictly by my parents, but passively through my family, my distant family members, or the people around me. For example, aunties at Bengali weddings. It was arranged marriage. I think it's always there, but since I have no strict expectations from my parents, I think that is like not. Yeah, I'm not very much suppressed by it, if I have to put it that way.
For me, in my culture, I think, of course, it's not in my case that I have to confront some arranged marriage, but I do know some people who are highly pushed by the family or the social pressure in order to form some kind of romantic relationship with someone that they don't know well, and I would say it was more selected based on the family backgrounds, the similarity of your personality, education, and interpersonal network, I would say.
Okay, so there is no notion of, for example, where the person is from in terms of ethnicity or in terms of, I don't know, in general, like social origin, whatever. It's like, what are like, for instance, what would be the criterion of the perfect lover for this kind of marriage?
I would say in my culture, in this kind of marriage, the parents will help you select those who are of similar social origin or higher social religion, and sometimes you will also consider other factors like family information. Some families about your parents, what your parents do, and your family property sometimes even.
It's funny because, so I'm from France, and we had this image of the high society, which, like, you had what we call le bal des débutantes, which was basically for the high society, the introduction of the girls to the entire society, and it was really a very formal introduction at a certain age. You were like your official entrance in the high society, and I really thought it was gone and it did not exist because I'm not from that social background, or I really thought it was something from, I don't know, 19th century or even 20th, but not anymore. And then I met someone from this class, let's say, and I realized that it was really something that was still going on, and it really kind of shocked me because I'm just like, it's France, we're in the 21st century, there are all this notion of women rights that come up, the feminism, the right of the woman to choose their relationship, their sexuality, you know, and I'm just like, and on the other side you have this whole sphere that no one really knows, which is like very private, but that still exists even though we're in the 21st century. So like, I think it's also parallel, it somehow exists in all the countries, even if we don't see it, to smaller or bigger extent. But yeah, so I had another question, which was more about, so the relation of your culture or country with the notion of infidelity or even divorce. Because I know like one of the first questions that people asked me knowing I was French was like, is the culture of infidelity that big in France? We have this image, like this cliche of people are not like trustful at all in terms of relationship, and everyone is just cheating on everyone. There's this image of like in the marriage there's always an affair in France and all. So I was wondering in your country, how is the situation about those questions?
When it comes to infidelity, I think polygamy is a major thing that concerns people, but even on that front, there are parts of Bangladesh where men have multiple partners, but in other places it's they're more conservative. But essentially what is considered infidelity would be having a physical or intimate relationship outside of your marriage if you're married. And but I did notice this about my culture or my tradition, that divorce is considered somewhat worse than infidelity itself. The people will not consider divorce even if they're, the divorce rates are increasing, which is maybe a good thing in a way, but it's still, I still have personally experienced a family member who went through the process and had a lot of social pressure surrounding it. She was a woman, and even though even though everyone in the family knew the kinds of issues that she faced in her marriage, they still did not encourage divorce and asked her to somewhat make the relationship work out. So yes. And what about in China?
Well, in China, firstly, I would like to answer Camille's question concerning the stereotype of French people being not very commitment. They don't put a lot of commitment in their marriage. It's very largely shaped by the popular media, I would say, of the image that they shape about French people and the French kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Well, in the case of China, I think infidelity equals to immorality is highly criticized by the society, in particular when you are some celebrity or you are someone of a very important position. If such kind of news are discovered, it would be criticized by a lot of people. Well, in terms of the divorce, I think it would be quite common in nowadays society as the divorce rate is increasing, and although the stigma towards people who had divorced, particularly women, is still a very severe problem in the society. I would say that it's already a lot better than, for example, 10 years ago in China.
Okay, so both of you mentioned a lot the evolution of, like in general, how something about love relationships are perceived. Do you think that our generation, like the youngsters, will be able to change it even more? Because you were mentioning that, for instance, your parents were more liberal, but that inside the society there were a lot of social pressure still. So do you feel like the next generation are gonna change that? Or do you feel like there's an evolution between, for instance, your grandparents' parents' mind and the people of your age?
I think over the generations, some changes might occur. Like I am very different from, my notion of love is very different from my grandparents', but culture is such a thing. It might take a very long time to entirely switch the perspectives of people, which may or may not be a good thing. I don't have a stance on that yet, but as me, if I have to compare my idea to my parents', even though like love marriages are not encouraged in my culture, my parents had a love marriage, my brother had a love marriage, but they still, apart from the bigger things, there are smaller things that are still dictate the relationship that culture or tradition has influenced. So those are the smaller things, those are the ones that might take a while to evolve, but I think our generation is doing much better on that front, and I do have hope, yes.
Well, in China, I think different generations, let's say the nearest 3 generations, I think they have different aims concerning love or marriage or relationship. They are to live, and to live. Well, they are different because for my grandparents' generation, for example, to live is to survive. Like you need to find some partner to live your life, to survive in the society when the resources are insufficient. Well, for my parents' generation, to live is to like live up to some kind of social expectations, because it's a social convention for people to build up a nuclear family, to raise your child and have a model life, kind of. Well, for our generation is to live our own life, because affected by the individualism, the economic liberalization, and so on. So I think we have different aims nowadays.
Okay.
I think it went from dependency in the sense that I need you for like economically and socially, me existing, like my grandmother needed my grandfather to actually prove her existence in society in a sense. But now, as Hanlin mentioned, the liberalization, like me being more independent or having more freedom, my idea, I mean, it went from dependency to comfort, sort of.
Yeah, although I feel like the question of dependency is still something that is very on, but more implicitly I would say, because I've saw so many girls, even of her age, that are like searching for love or for someone to date, but in such an extreme manner, like it's like their life depend on it. And that was something that really struck me that happened last year. So at the very end of the year, it was COVID and all. So we just came back to class to say like basically goodbye to our teachers. And one of our teachers asked us, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And so there were like 5 boys in the class, 15 girls, something like this. And every single girls, when they answered, they mentioned, so in 10 years I see myself as a family, like married, a home, you know, like, well, I mean, in 10 years we'll be like 27, 28 years old. So it's still young to have like an entire family and be very settled and all. But every single girl mentioned this family and this kid and finding a husband or like even a wife or whatever. And then you could hear the boy and they were like, well, I don't really know, but I might have found a job. But none of them mentioned the notion of family. And I felt like even in like the norms we integrate to our life as girls, there's this notion of you have to find a husband as soon as possible or like someone to date, because it's a stability in your life and it's also a way to be socially higher somehow. Like I saw so many people that are like proud of dating someone, and I feel like this notion of dependency, even if it's different from the past, it's still something that is very on, honestly.
I think what makes the clock tick for a woman is in part the biological quote unquote the biological clock, because for a major part of the population, marriage comes with children, and if you want children, you get married, at least in a lot of cultures in South Asia. So yeah, I think you're right, but wanting a family, I wouldn't consider it a bad thing in the longer run. It depends on, I mean, it all comes down to your idea of comfort and what you want at the end of the day. So if a family makes you happy, it makes you happy. But being entirely reliant on your partner, emotional dependency isn't a bad thing, but too much of anything is what, makes things fall apart.
I agree. I do not mean that it's a bad thing to want, like, the fact of wanting a family in 10 years or whatever. But the fact that every single girl said that she imagined herself in like 10 years with a family, while no boy said that. I was like, even if it's different from my own vision, there's something broader and there's something that comes from society. Because like, what is the probability that on the 15 girls, every single mentioned it, while on the boys they did not?
That's fair.
Like, there was something in society at some point. And it's something I thought had changed, and in the end, not that much. So like, it's kind of having relativity on thing, So I had just one last question, which might be kind of the more open and abstract one. But it's, do you believe in the existence of soulmates?
I do believe in the existence of soulmates, but maybe not strictly in the sense of a romantic partner. Someone who just understands. I might not be in love with this person, I might not get married to them, but they understand an abstract part of me that most other people or everyone that I've met throughout my lifetime do not understand. And there's a communication which is inexplicable.
Yeah, I agree with Samaya in the sense that soulmate is different from the romantic partner. For me, I have a lot of imagination about it. For example, I think a soulmate is like a house that you used to live in. Once you enter, you find everything so familiar. You're familiar with the location of the furniture. You're familiar with the road to your room. So even if you are walking in the dark, you find your way.
That's so sweet.
That's so poetic. So we're gonna end on that very poetic note because it's a very nice one. So, thank you Samaya and Hanlin for this very interesting discussion around love and relationships, divorce, like soulmates and all, and how diverse perspectives on it can be. And thank you listeners for tuning in. This was brought to you by Cultured Carrots of the Verbermanent podcast. Thank you to the writer Cam and the producer Isabella. And remember to tune in next Monday for more episodes of the Cultured Carrots on multiculturalism. Take care.